everyone. Welcome. This is our April call for Women IT Pros. Super excited to have all of you here. And I'm really excited to have Heather Newman, who I found as I was embarking on this whole Women IT Pros thing, and was a huge fan of, am a huge fan of her Creative Maven activity. And then next thing I know, she has joined Microsoft. So really excited to have her here today. And we're going to be talking about workplace culture and community. But first, a couple of notes, and I don't have my deck because everything kind of went crash here. So one of the things that we're doing a little bit differently is for the networking piece, because Teams is not showing all of the chat history that came in before you did. What I've done is set up a spreadsheet in SharePoint, and I shared that, and I think everybody should be able to add to that one. And I'll throw the link in there again if you don't see it, if you joined after I pasted it in there, if someone else can repaste it. So we'll kind of use that if you want to catch up with people and get LinkedIn IDs or Twitter IDs. That's going to be a good way to share. Also, I'm encouraging you to share in there any events that you're going to, because even if it's digital, hey, you can go together, you know? It's more fun to show up at these things and, you know, set up your own back channel if you want to be, you know, watching a presentation together or something like that. So really encourage you to network with that. And then as far as our upcoming calls, let's see. The EU team is doing theirs on podcast now. So that's all going to be on our YouTube site. So that's bit.ly/WITPros-YouTube. And that's also in that Excel networking sheet. I created another tab that has links. So all the links I'm talking about, that's going to be the best place to find them. The Asia Pacific call that Sonia and Jess run is going to be April 28th. And that is noon in Sydney time. But for us, that's actually going to be 7 p.m. in Pacific time on the 27th, because time travel. And then our next meetup in AltSpace is going to be on April 23rd at 9 a.m. And that's also Pacific time. So we'll be in virtual reality. You can find that really easily if you're already in AltSpace on the main events tab, or I'll also put the link in there if you want the Eventbrite. That'll give you a little more info to help you get started with that one. And then our next topic meeting for the US call is going to be the second Friday. So that'll be May 14th. And I'll have more detail about the topic for that later. So with that, oh, there's also going to be a survey. We do encourage you to fill out the survey. It really helps us to know what you're interested in and how this call went for you. And let's see, a disclaimer. I do like to add that, you know, I work for Microsoft, and in this case, our speaker Heather also now works for Microsoft, and several people on the call do, but not everybody does. This is not a Microsoft specific thing. We don't purport to speak for Microsoft. This is an open source grassroots kind of thing that we wanted to get to people together and just talk about, you know, what's going on from our personal and professional experience in the IT pro space. So with that, I'm going to go ahead and turn things over to Heather, who is currently a principal PM manager and lead in Dynamics 365. And she works on, I love the name of this, the Power Platform Community Success Team, because we're all about community here. And I love that Microsoft is so focused now on community success.
Awesome.
So Heather, I'm going to hand things over to you.
Thank you so much, Kathy. What a delight. And thank you for having me on your call for this month, and wonderful to see so many faces. I have slides I'm going to present, but also feel free to have this be an interactive moment where people can ask questions. If you want to have your cameras on, totally great. If you don't, all good as well. I always love with Teams, you know, folks want to like get a hand up and say, hey, I want to ask a question. If you've got the raise the hand, you know, raise it up. If you feel so moved, you know, applause and hearts, if you have the emojis, are always really fun as well. So yeah, so I'll get started. And yeah, it's Friday, right? So I'm very happy about that too. So yeah, as Kathy said, I am a principal PM manager and lead for the Power Platform and Dynamics 365 Community Success Team. It's a bit of a mouthful, but we are, my charter is all about working with our Power Platform and Dynamics 365 communities. And put a slide up that's a little bit about me. If you have a LinkedIn app on your phone, I don't know, this is something for you if you're ever speaking. If you want to go to your LinkedIn app, and you can open your LinkedIn app up, and in the top search bar. Now this is on definitely on an iPhone. It's a little bit different on an Android, but that top search bar, you see the little 4 squares. What you can do is that you can take a photo. I think this works. Yeah. And you can scan my QR code and then we will be now linked on LinkedIn. Super cool and great to do during presentations, especially in our virtual world. It's a way to automatically, magically connect with all of you. Yeah. So you can get yours off of the LinkedIn app. So what I suggest is you snap a photo of it and then put it in your computer and you can have it on your phone and then add it in when you're introducing yourself, and people can be doing that while you're making an introduction. I think it's a really great way to network when we're in this virtual time. So just a tip and trick there. I'm all about the tips and tricks. So yeah, my Twitter handle is Heather Newman. I had a Czechoslovakian director in college who called me Hedda, and it stuck, and it was wonderful. And so that's a nickname that's been around a long time. And then I also have a blog up on Medium. Everywhere on the internet, I'm Heather Newman. So Instagram, TikTok, all that kind of jazz. And so I have been in and around Microsoft. This is my 20th year in and around doing things for Microsoft. I started out in 2001 on the SharePoint marketing team when SharePoint was called Tahoe, and it was a code name still. And I had the privilege of working on the team to really build the community there from the ground up. So I put on the first SharePoint conference with the team. We didn't have a partner ecosystem. I called the first 60 partners and said, hey, do you want to be a partner? We did the first 150 case studies for SharePoint. So I've had this amazing career where I got in to Microsoft at the ground level when SharePoint was brand new, and when I had come out of college being a theater major. So I went to University of Washington at UW. So you'll see some jazz hands probably during this presentation. And I always worked in offices. I love technology. I'm a gadget nerd. I'm a sci-fi nerd, all of that good stuff, and a theater geek. So for me, I'm a producer at heart. And so I started producing theater in Seattle after graduating and working at a bunch of engineering firms. And I needed a job, and a friend of mine from the theater was literally married to Nancy McSherry Jensen, who was the first group product manager for SharePoint. And I went and wrote those case studies for them. And so that's how I got started in tech. And then I just started saying yes to everything. Like, do you know how to do this? Yes. Do you know how to do that? Yes. I didn't know how to do all of it, but I said yes. And so that was something that I think is a good thing. I figured it out, and I got this beautiful education over time working with, at Microsoft, one of the biggest, neatest companies in the world, right? So here I am, I started as I was a full-time employee when I was 30. And then I went back and I changed roles and was a vendor again. I've been a Microsoft Office and apps and services MVP. I ran a partner company for a while, a software company. I have a marketing consultancy. I got my hands on a lot of things, and it's changed and ebbed over the years. I was an event producer for a long time at these big events, and then I did marketing campaigns. And so it's just been a little bit all over the place for me. But it's sort of at my heart, it's the producer. I love producing things, and I love producing things with a team. And so the decision for me to come back to Microsoft was definitely Donna Sakar, who's probably been on here before many times, that very well, used to run Windows Insiders and now is our cloud advocate for Power Platform, who is, yeah, exactly right. She's amazing, and she's a good friend. She called me last April and said, you need to come back to Microsoft. I have a job for you. I think you're going to love. And I was like, okay. And so, she invited me to come back and do the thing. And so I said, great. So here I sit 10 months in this new position. And so the thing for me is that community is near and dear to my heart, having really grown the SharePoint community over 20 years, and also workplace culture. And I really have, I have a lot of strong opinions about it, and I love sharing them and talking about them and best practices and stuff. And so, for me, I think that community is really only as healthy as the health of the community that runs it. So if my team is toxic and not doing well, then our community is not going to be doing well, right? Because energy bleeds everywhere, right? Similarly, a team that is not healthy on individual levels, you feel it throughout the whole team, right? And so I feel like, community building and healthy workplace culture starts with us as individuals, and then it goes out and out and out. My dad gave me a poem when I was 16 that was called Start With Yourself. And it's talking about someone on their deathbed. And it says, you know, I wanted to change the world, but no, I couldn't. And he's like, so I decided to try and change my community, and they wouldn't have any of it. And I tried to change my family, and they were like, nope. And he was like, and here I sit. Maybe if I had actually changed myself, then I could have changed my family, my community, my world, right? So to me, that is the essence of community, of making sure that we as individuals are healthy and happy, and then our teams, and then our communities, and thus the world, hopefully. I'm really excited. These are our current numbers for what we're doing in Power Platform. We've got 2.1 million members of our community. Amazing. I looked at it the other day and I was like, wow. And
are you projecting something? Because we're not seeing a deck if you are.
Oh, you're not? Oh, yeah.
At least I'm not, unless.
Oh, is
anyone else seeing it?
Oh, goodness. Well, let's do that. There you go. So yeah, let me go backwards a little bit. So that was the community health slide. There you go. And then there's the QR code that I was talking about too. I'm sorry, y'all. I thought we were projecting. So that's that LinkedIn QR code that you can do with each other. It's kind of fun.
Yes.
Yeah, that's what I was talking about. There you go. So yeah, so if you take your LinkedIn app and you put it over the QR code, then we can connect with each other. It's kind of fun. I'll leave that up there for a second. But yeah, our community is, we've got, we're between, I think, 500 and 750 user groups. And we've got a place for ideas to come in, to take feedback from product thoughts and ideas and all that sort of thing. So very excited about kind of where we're going and what we're doing on that. So again, that health of the community is super important, and it goes down to us as individuals. And then we've got the thriving community that I've been talking about for Power Platform. And if you haven't been there, just as a point, I'll put this in the chat, but this is a place, if you're interested in seeing more about what we're doing, I will put this in our chat here, this link here. And we've got, 5 communities that I'm taking care of with a wonderful team. So that's there. Power BI, Automate, Apps, and Virtual Agents, and then Dynamics 365 as well. And that's how you get to all of those. So, community, this is a snapshot of a lot of our MVPs and folks who are influencers in our world. And, at the end of the day, it's all about people, right? And we've got people who have, no technology backgrounds that are starting to work in our low code, no code revolution that's happening. And it really comes down to stories and how we work with each other. User groups are another big thing. This is a user group, right? So you are participating in a user group on a monthly basis, and you have done that because you are passionate about a subject and you want to connect with other people like-minded like yourself, right? So that's a big, big, wonderful thing that Microsoft, for our team, we are looking at our product usage, and it's growing faster than our community. Amazing. So I need to I got some work to do, as they say, right? And also customers, people want more connection with Microsoft, right? Right now, I think especially between these screens that we have and how far we are from each other, we're all craving more connection, right? And a personalized connection. We've had kind of a confusing user group experience, I think, for Power Platform and Dynamics 365. It was run by a third party for a long time. And we're actually looking at how do we help value independence for user groups that exist, but also how do we support and grow them as Microsoft. And so we looked at that and said, hey, you know what, we're going to do some work on our seamless experience across our products, our webs, our user groups. And we're going to also invest in looking at field folks. And you're like, what's a field folk? Well, someone at Microsoft who works in the field selling Microsoft products and services. And we're working with our marketing team on making sure that those folks in your local communities are actually connecting with you on a user group level. And so we're talking to them very soon through MBAS and launching some projects around that, which I'm really excited about. And then also a free platform and support for UGs as well. So one of the things that is coming very soon is that we are bringing the user group experience for Power Platform and Dynamics 365 onto our community platform. So it'll be a first-party Microsoft deal from very soon on. And so if you're interested and if you are a user group leader in any of those two areas of Power Platform or Dynamics, I would say please go sign up and be notified when our public preview comes up, because it's coming up very soon. So great. And I've done a bunch of tweeting about that and been talking about it. So we're really excited to have user group leaders, whether they're on Meetup or they've been on another platform or whatever, come bring what they're doing over and give our experience a try. So we're very excited about that. The next big thing for us that's coming up is the Business Application Summit. That's on May the 4th. Be with you. Very excited about that. aka.ms/MBAS is the link for that, and I'll put that in the chat too. And what's going to be great about that is we're going to be talking all about user groups and community. Our community team has really gotten in with the event team and been like, where's community going to show up, and how do we continue to build this healthy culture? And so they're allowing us a lot of space and time during this event, which I'm really excited about. It's a one-day event. You'll have keynotes by James Phillips and Alyssa Taylor and Charles Lamanna and all of that, and then we're going to kind of be in the middle of everything as hosts and correspondents. So I'm super excited. And the last kind of housekeeping thing of like what's going on in community for us, and then we're going to talk about culture, is a Power Platform Community Conference. That is me. I have a Community Rocks jean jacket from being an Ignite community reporter. But on June 10th, we're doing a community conference. We did one last year in October, and we're going to be doing it again. And that is all the community by the community. So all the content is from community members. Microsoft only bookends just a little bit of it. So save the date, coming soon. So like what's going on in community for us? That's what's going on in community for us. A lot of really good, fun stuff. So, and you're like, oh, how does that relate to workplace culture? Well, to me, community, culture, community are kind of all the same thing, as well as customer journey. Like, what is your journey into working on a project, or what is your journey with dealing with software, or what's your journey in learning what you need to learn for your potential job, or say you're switching your career and all of that sort of thing, right? So to me, culture really is the new currency. I think we're seeing that with everything that's been going on, goodness, in the world. We're in the middle of a pandemic. We've had a lot of things happening, socioeconomically, culturally, politically, all of that. And I think there is an emphasis on authenticity and healthy workplace culture and self-care, and talking about well-being, talking about mental issues, all of those things, accessibility. Like, I feel like, do you feel the prevalence of that more in our conversations? I do. Yeah, absolutely. So a couple things. Culture, they say from our McKinsey report, is one of the most significant self-reported barriers to digital effectiveness. And that's kind of an interesting thing. You're like, okay, what does that mean? And it's sort of thinking about that sometimes when there is a cultural or behavioral barrier, whatever that might be, whatever it is that we as individuals may be dealing with. And I always say, you can never know what's behind somebody's smiling eyes, no matter pandemic or no, right? We all have stuff going on. We all have, things in our life. We're human beings, right? And we don't always know when somebody's presenting like I got stuff going on right now too, that I'm like, that's way in the back of my head that I may be thinking about, that I'm like, oh, my friend or this or that, but I'm still also here and being present with you, right? But does that stop me from doing what I do on a daily basis? And sometimes maybe, I think also digital literacy is really important to think about in culture. We never know what someone else's digital literacy is. I meet all of you. I have no idea if you know how to use Outlook, or if you're like an amazing PowerPoint person, or you're a wicked programmer, or, you bake bread amazingly, or, whatever it is, right? And type your, recipes out in OneNote, or, all of that stuff, right? So when we're working with people, we make an assumption that people potentially are exactly like we are. We just kind of do that. We like pigeonholing. And so I think it's very important to realize that depending on when you started with computers, and talking specifically in tech, when you started working on a computer, if you've taken a break, right? If you're coming back from a break because of many reasons, and both men and women and trans people take different breaks for different reasons. Sometimes sometimes it's, having kids, sometimes it's taking care of an elderly parent. Sometimes something happens medically, all those kinds of things, right? So there's always stuff going on that potentially you don't know where someone's at. And I feel like meeting people where they are is really important, and asking the questions, not in a way of, you don't know, but where are you at? So we can help if you need more training, or if you need to understand where this whole Teams explosion has led us, in the pandemic. I think it's really, really important. So I think the other thing is, culture really, it's about who we are and how we treat each other and what allows us to make differences in the world. And I know, some of the things at Microsoft is that we're really thinking about a growth mindset, and meaning that everybody can grow and develop, and that potential is nurtured and not predetermined, and that anybody can change their mindset. And it's also, one of my favorites is progress instead of perfection, moving from a know-it-all to a learn-it-all, and really always being curious. And that really leads into that customer obsession, of empathy, listening, and, learning about customers, learning about each other, and being really insatiable about that. And I think that also leads into being, looking for diverse and inclusive moments. The world's diverse, right, in so many ways. And if we represent everyone on the planet, we're going to have, we're going to challenge our own biases, we're going to challenge our own behaviors, and we're going to tap into like a collective power that's really exciting. And for Microsoft, for example, we're really looking at, one Microsoft of how we do that with our customers and our partners, and each of you on this phone call, how we make, the world a better place and make dreams come true and solutions get solved. So it's very exciting that way. And, I think some of the other things that we're thinking about, is how we talk about team culture, and think about how we want to do some activities with our teams. Can you still see my slides? Something just burped.
No, they popped off.
Yeah, I was like, something just happened. Okay. Yeah. Anyway, team culture. So, striving to have a open and welcoming type of conversation. I think one of the things we don't often do is remember that, we have new people coming in all the time, into our businesses, right, and into our teams and all of that. And something for onboarding that we don't often do is have a culture conversation, right? And so having a moment to where we say as a team, welcome, first of all, and let's talk about our team culture. Let's talk about how we talk to each other. Let's talk about what the best method of communication is between each other. We're heavy in Teams chat. We have one big chat that we all use together when we talk all the time, and it's for asking questions and all that. Or we're really email centric, and we really want people answering emails. And what are your business hours? What is your time zone? It's about talking to each other, right? And having those conversations, and not just having it like once a year, being like, we had our culture chit chat, check to do, it's about repetitively knowing that you've got people coming in who need to be invited and enveloped into your team. And you're going to have other teams that you work with, and you can influence how they work too, right? So I have a no meeting Friday rule. Except for Kathy, of course, but this isn't a meeting. This is something different, right? This is a user group, but literally no team meetings on Fridays. I need a day to work, to be honest, and I need a day to get other things done. And so the team, so Kara Wanagatimu, who I think you probably all know as well, who's amazing, dear friend as well, she started that, and I was like, I love that. And so I started doing it too. And then I found out another team started doing it because they saw we were doing it. So you've got this pattern of people being like, you know what? We're going to take Fridays to be creative and do our writing and do wonderful podcasts and webinars and stuff like this, right? I also started let's start a meeting on an 05 because I need a moment to get ready for my next meeting. If not, I go back to back, right? And Maron has a question. The EU Power Platform community is strong and engaging. How do you plan to support the US community to be involved and engaging like the EU? That's a great question. I think that, we're going to mimic some of the programs that we already have in the UK. I think, this user group public preview is going to be a really important thing for us. We have a team of community program managers that all are in charge of the different communities, each one. So Power Apps has one, Power BI and all of that. We We also have community managers on a secondary level, and then we brought in a couple of user group coordinators as well to do that sort of white glove service with folks. So I'm hoping that we get, things moving as well. And you're absolutely right. The EU has a very strong and engaged community, so it's great to see. Let's see. Any other questions so far? Sorry you're having trouble, Michelle. Yeah. Questions, comments, thoughts? Because I got more slides and I can keep talking always, but yeah. No? All right, now, okay, cool. Awesome. And so this is a great slide, I think, to use for that kind of a thing, or build something like it, that it's sort of your standard talking slide about when someone joins the team, or, or when, even, every once in a while in a team meeting, it's like planning for morale and culture, and that you set it on your schedule, and maybe it's a once a month, even half hour, or it's, once a quarter where you kind of do cleanup crew on kind of this kind of stuff. It's about having a really good schedule, because if not, you can often forget to do it, right? Keeping morale up. There's all these great tips and tricks on doing these kinds of things. So it's really, thinking about like what's a way to connect with people online, creating a lounge online potentially, like if you're using Teams, like maybe one of the channels is just about fun stuff, or you have lunch together every once in a while. Like, you bet, Marin, absolutely. But like, saying, today we're all gonna like flip on cameras and maybe have lunch together. I love a happy hour. We do those too with our teams. And I think those things are super important. Our PowerCat team, which is the team that's kind of like the solution architects who work, really heavily with our enterprise customers. I was on that team for a little bit. And I'm still on that team kind of officially, but they have this huge, beautiful culture because of the whole Power Cat. They really embraced the cat in Power Cat. And so we have Poskers, like the Oscars, when people do great stuff. And that's part of that culture of the team. And I love it. It's like you take a minute to celebrate people. You take a minute. They have a show and tell meeting every other week. It's like, those things you think, oh, that's kind of like, it's not, it's not building product, it's not building a campaign. Man, it's building culture. That is all about how you build culture, It's very exciting. Yeah, I love it. Yeah, field trip to the virtual beach. Yeah, sharing pictures from a vacation, and you totally got the PowerCat team hooked on AltSpace, Kathy. Like you were like such a force of nature with that whole thing. I mean, I can't even tell you how excited everybody was about that, and still are, and we're trying to figure it out. So it's super cool. And then, here's another thing. Okay, what time is it? 12:30. We're half hour in, right? So I've been talking for a bit. We've been having, doing a little of this. It's time for a water break. So anybody, you got some water? Mm-hmm. Or whatever you're drinking. That tastes so good. I'm gonna have another sip. So here's the thing. Doing that in the middle of a meeting, it changes the state for a minute, right? It allows us to take a breath. It also invigorates the meeting with a little bit more energy, because some slides that I have will tell us about how when we're half hour in the meeting, that's when we slump. That's when we kind of have a moment, right? And if you're doing back-to-back virtual meetings, 3 or 4 hours in is when you're really slumping, because you've done that back-to-back stuff, right? I don't know if you can tell this, but I am standing. I'm at a standing desk, which is helpful. And I usually have been sitting for this when I've done this presentation before, and I usually raise the desk up, but I can't sit because I'm so excited. So I'm just going to keep standing for this one. So anyway, and then, managing change during challenging times. So some of the stuff I was talking about there, right? Like, what's that self-care? Like literally water break, that's when, and your team will thank you for it. And also I've done bio breaks too, where I've been like, who needs a bio break? And everybody's like, yes. And we're like, all right, back in 5. And, like in this funny time we're in, those things are like funny and wonderful, and it keeps that kind of humanity in what we're doing, right? Thinking about how we're embracing change. There's a lot of change that's happening and been happening, and it's like how to be able to embrace that and have it not be something that puts you into a fear mindset, honoring your own process with this too. We're allowed to do things and take in things and react to things in the ways that we do, right? And sometimes, you know, it like taking a time out is what we need to do most. And take a, like we have a joke on it. I'm always like, go take a lap around the pool, you know, and it's kind of like, we need a moment to like get out and take a break from each other. But those team morale things, like I was talking about with Power Cat, and what are some meetings best practices, which I have in here too. And also, I think this is right now and anytime career development and professional journey, like how are we participating in our own next steps, right? And those are teeny tiny sort of small things of like that LinkedIn thing, like having that on a slide so that you're always connecting with people virtually, you know, and also saying to, you know, your manager, if that's, you know, the situation you're in, you know, like, you know, I kind of want to know where I'm at and where I'm going. And if you haven't had that question, you know, brought that question in a while, you know, maybe it's time for that. We're in the great pause and the great realization, I think, right now, right? And maybe even great revolution, depending. Couple things, work trend index. So Microsoft put this out, and this is a super cool, interesting deal. So you can type in Microsoft 365 workplace productivity or work trend index. And Microsoft, we put this together about 6 months into the pandemic. This is public out on the web on Microsoft.com website. And it was looking at productivity patterns in teams and how they've shifted. So it's like 6,000 people, information workers in 8 countries, Australia, Brazil, Germany, Japan, India, Singapore, UK, and the US were all involved. And the Microsoft Research Group did a lot of this. And some findings are, we're tired and we're a bit stressed. And that burnout is unfortunately an increase, and that but that meditation and other things like that are helping people decrease work-related stress. And sort of what we just did with the water, that change of state for a moment, is a tip and trick that I love. And changes of state to me are when you do something physical or with your mind that are totally different than what you've been doing. So meditation is great for that. I'm a big fan. Some people don't like meditation. It's kind of up to you, but I know that I love this one, and I'm going to send this. I live in Los Angeles, and I found this way before I even lived here, but this is UCLA Health. It's totally free. I keep it bookmarked on my phone, and I use it all the time. There's a 10-minute loving kindness meditation that I love, because it's about giving loving kindness to yourself and out to the world. And I do it when I need to write something. I do it before a talk like this. I do it when I just need a moment, you know, and it's sort of that gift that I give to myself to change my state. Yeah. Also, you know, walking and standing in front of a window, or walking outside on a balcony, or walking outside for a minute. That's another great change of state that's super simple. Oh, that insight timer is awesome as well. Yeah, that's a great one, Valerie. And then, you know, just even, so I'm at this standing desk, right? And I've got 3 screens happening right here, and I got 1 keyboard, and I finally learned how to type on my ergonomic keyboard. That slowed me down, but that was kind of fun, but with the split, right? But I'm going to give you a great stretch that I use all the time sitting here at my desk or standing, is that you put your hands behind your head. If you want to join in, feel free. Put your hands behind your head, and then you're going to pull back a little bit. Take a breath. And then this is the kicker. Bring it on in. Take a deep breath. And then pull back again. Breathe in. That right there, with us that are doing this, oh, I love that one. You know, gets you just a little bit in those shoulder blades to kind of wake things up. How long did that take? 30, maybe 45 seconds at the most, right? And I know that people are like, do you do this in the middle of meetings? And I'm like, I do. I think right now, I think that, you know, we're humans and we're behind screens and we're sitting and we're at home and there's like dogs and kids and people knocking on doors and stuff. You know what? It's like, it is what it is, and we should be taking care of ourselves, right? Hydration, stretching, meditation, moving, changing your state. And some global workplace stressors we're worried about things, luckily, we've got, depending on how you feel about these things, the vaccines are in play and, different things are happening in our world right now. But I think, there's a lot of these stressors that, I don't know, do these feel like they're kind of up top for people? Some of them, lack of, interaction, feeling disconnected, hard to manage workloads, the blending of work and home, all of that, I think, are things that lead to that sort of medium to low level of stress. Renata, yeah, lack of separation from work and home. And some people, I know some guy, he was like, he's been sitting in his living room and on his kitchen table, working on a laptop. And I was like, where's your other screen? And he was like, what are you talking about? And I was like, don't you have another screen? And he was like, this is where I have to work. I don't have, this is it. And I was like, wow, it's like not everybody has, I've been working from home since 2006. Okay. So like I've been doing this a long time. So I've got like screens and whatnot and everything. Not everybody has that set up, you know? Some people are like this all day long sitting at the kitchen table, right? So it's like, what are these stressors doing to us and how can we address them? Something else that I was telling about 30 minutes in, and feeling a little like, ooh, need a little something. So this is all about brain waves. So brainwaves reveal sustained concentration in video meetings leads to fatigue. So what the thing is that, so if you think about it, so like those of you who are on camera and have stayed on camera, one of the things that is wonderful that you're like, I see you, I can see you smiling, you can see you looking at me, you can like all of that stuff, I can get a sense of that. And that's great. But it is what the energy that you're having to expend to kind of do that and be present is way more than the folks who have their cameras off. And it's totally fine that you have your cameras off. So, all good. But you know what I mean? But like when we're trying to be present, it's different than if we were hanging out in a conference room or somewhere else. We don't have to be looking at each other like this the entire time to make sure that we're like, connected with each other, right? You can kind of be doing other things. You might look at a phone, you might look at, a camera over here, you might look at a tree or, whatever. But this intensity that we kind of have with each other, right? When we're on the camera, like if I look down here for a minute, you're like, what's she doing? Is she looking at something? I'm like, no, I'm just kind of, I'm looking around, or you're texting, you're not paying attention, or you're on TikTok or whatever, you know what I mean? So there is an energy that is part of this digital through screens world that I think is a couple of times X than we would normally need and have, right? So of course we're fatigued because we're trying to do that and be present all the time with each other. I think, yeah, here we go. This is another thing. Hey, Rebecca, welcome. So setting up a meeting. This is some of that tips and tricks, right? Of, thinking about who does meetings. I think that's everybody on this call, right? Yes. Okay. So setting up meetings, yeah, attending meetings and all of that. Ways to set up meetings. Having an agenda in your meeting request, because there's always that person that's like, is there agenda for this meeting? What is this about, right? So like heading that off at the pass is a good idea. And also setting up the meeting for success, right? Outlook has a checkbox where you can start meetings at the 05 and on the 10. I have implemented that and I love it, like I was saying. Super good. You can a lot of the times catch up in the front, but you can't catch up in the end, right? A lot of meetings always bleed over. You can't get a word in edgewise sometimes, especially people in technology, right? We talk really fast. So, and then also we've got recordings, we've got captions, potentially note taking, putting links to the notes or the deck and all of those things. Everybody's like, where's the slides? Where's the recording? Everybody always wants that afterwards, right? If you can designate the place beforehand and say, it's in the meeting request, go check that out later. It's like saving yourself time of like digging and hunting and pecking for things afterwards, which I love doing for myself and my team. So, and with any meeting, here's the other thing. If you're running a meeting, and see, we were starting with kind of ground rules, kind of like I did, right? Started out a little bit casual and said, okay, like you can raise your hands, or what are the ground rules? If I was like, hey, y'all, you know what? I really want you to pay attention to the slides and all of that, then we're going to do a no cameras kind of thing, right? So there's no distractions, or let's bring it all up because it's all great if you feel so moved, right? And here's how to do the raise hand or the claps or, all that kind of stuff. And because again, remember, everybody's digital literacy is not the same, right? So who knows who's ever been on a Teams meeting before, right? They might even not know, well, what are you talking about? Raise your hand. What are you talking about, right? So give everybody a moment to participate in a meeting in a way that they might be able to or that they didn't know. I also feel like, why is it Carrie says, why is it maintaining eye contact with a camera is so extra exhausting? I think it's because we don't do that in normal sort of when we're physically together life. I mean, when you're sitting and talking with somebody or even in a room, you're not like this, right? And that's like all that intensity and attention and energy is kind of in that one place. And so it's tiring. You know, I don't have the scientific data on that, but that brainwave information is on point about that it is and gives us fatigue. And so, you know, if we were in a physical place together, we would look at each other sometimes, right? But we would, you know, we'd be relating, we'd be thinking, we'd look other places. But I think the funny thing is that when we're on camera, we want to make sure that we, you know, are like, yes. And I think there's a thing about trying to make somebody else feel good and feel better too, that you are paying attention to them. And so I think it's an energy, I believe. Be mindful of side chats. I've seen people come on and, you know, you'll have a meeting and all of a sudden somebody's like, hey, you were on vacation. How was that? Oh, it was great. What's going on with you? I don't know. I haven't talked to you in a long time. And you're like, hello, I'm presenting. You know what I mean? And so trying to quell that sometimes is good. It's like, hey, y'all, like, I'm so happy you haven't seen each other in a long time, but could you maybe park that conversation or have it one-on-one? That's an easy way to swoop that. And if they won't, then you can maybe be a little bit more direct if you need to. Yeah. How are you? Yes. We are more conscious of ourselves and we see ourselves, right? And we know everybody's looking at us. That's a great point too. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So if I can jump in here real quick.
Please. Yeah.
So that has been one of the challenges with this, online mode and Zoom meetings, Teams meetings and stuff, compared to meetings in a conference room where, you know, when someone is talking, the focus is only on that person, and you could be sitting on the side and having a little snack, and no one's gonna watch you. But
Right.
now everybody's just looking straight up. You see the whole team there.
Yeah.
You know, if you want to like have a little bite or you want to like, rub your nose kind of a thing, you have to like step away a bit from the
What?
screen. Exactly. Yeah.
Right. Which we, you know,
And then you start looking at yourself and you're like, am I looking okay? Is my hair okay? Is my,
yeah.
any glare on my glasses and stuff like that. So a lot of stresses you put on yourself.
Yeah, absolutely. And absolutely, Rebecca, like the way that we show we are paying attention is by being like this. Or, you know, or trying anyway. And, or, you know, or it's like my senior parents who are like, what, Heather, what? You know, like that kind of thing with their faces in the cameras too. So, yeah, but anyway, yeah. So I think, you know, it's about giving each other some grace too. I talk about that a lot too. You know, that word grace, I think resonates with people. It resonates with me. I think it resonates with all of us. We could all give a little bit more grace. We could have a little bit more grace in our lives, right? And I talk about that with my teams, you know, a lot about we all work really hard. We're all dealing with things behind our smiling eyes. And what we need most of the time is to give each other some grace, you know? So it's something else about meetings is, you know, starting with gratitude. Thank people for being there, like you did, Kathy, you know, that's great. And also ask maybe how people are doing, depending on how big the meeting is. Sometimes it's if a big meeting, it's like, how's everybody doing? You know, and it's more like that. Or it's a smaller meeting, you're like, let's do a check-in. How is everybody doing for reals? And, you know, get a little bit of this and then offer, you know, you want to take something, have a chat afterwards or another time, let me know, you know, I really want to know how that is. And that's kind of a leadership management thing, but it's also not, it's a human thing for all of us to remember, I think too. Again, turning on cameras. Like I said, I'm big on the jazz hands. I a lot of the time will say, hey people, hey, you want to turn your cameras on? Give us some jazz hands, see what's going on. Again, that's another change of state. Yeah, gets people kind of connected to you in a different way. And even using the chat, especially, you know, hey, where are you calling in from or where are you in from? And what time is it where you are? Or that kind of thing, like putting those things in the chat to get people, and you get to see how many people actually know how to use the chat too. Together mode is fun, dynamics view, and all of that stuff. Again, I'm gonna close with one or two more things, and then I know we're getting down to it. Toxic workplaces. I've seen a lot of things in a career, and I'm a very big proponent of really being in a speak up culture, and that's definitely a Microsoft thing, but I think it's an everywhere thing. It's hard. It's hard when something happens and you're like, do I say something? Do I not say something? What do I say? Do I say it to that person? Do I say it in front of the group? What do I do? There's a lot of, about that. And I think that, it depends on what we're talking about and who has done something or said something. But, it's like, it is really upon all of us to be able to stamp out toxic culture and to figure out ways to do that both don't set yourself up for a large fight or something like that, and also truly help the other person understand that maybe something that they said or what they're doing isn't appropriate and or is culturally different and all of those things. And so, that's hard. And it's hard, especially like I've never met a lot of my team because I started in the middle of COVID, right? And so I'm getting to know people and, and sometimes, it's just differences of opinions or how you talk about things and stuff. So I think with the toxicity in the workplace, what combats that for me is really developing deep relationships with the people you work with on a level to where you know each other. And that's all about storytelling and sharing stories with each other and working on being vulnerable and being authentic. And I feel like, oh yeah, I agree with you, Hijra. It's like the best job in the world, toxic workplace, and it trickles into everything you do, and that is about trying to work on your friendships and relationships that you have with colleagues and getting support and asking questions and sharing stories. I think the more we share about each other that we're comfortable with, the more we can understand each other. So I think that storytelling is really important. And I think it's all about that Humans of IT as well. Humans of IT is up on the Microsoft Tech community, and it's a great place to read other stories and to potentially share your story as well. And I know there's a lot of that happens with what you do, Kathy, as well. But at the end of the day, we have both the technical and the humanity that we want to bring more and more together. And that's about participating in our communities. That's about working on our healthy workplace culture. It's about stamping out toxic behavior, and it's about taking care of ourselves and each other. And so that's my presentation, and we've got a few minutes left for questions and stuff. So there you go. So thanks all.
Thank you. Wow. Great to have you. Just great topic right now, and so important. And is my video frozen or am I?
You're a little frozen, but we can hear you.
Okay.
Thanks,
if I drop again, I'll just switch over to my phone because that's been working pretty well.
Cool.
So we'll space question a little bit later, but did anyone have any questions for Heather first? I know we've had a couple in the chat window previously, but anyone want to jump in with anything?
Yeah, if I didn't catch you in the chat, I'll look through real quick.
I think we got everyone.
Theater person, Victoria. Okay.
Yes. Yeah.
Awesome. Love it. Okay.
Performers are great techies.
Yeah. Impostor syndrome with Donna. Yep. Okay. Yep. Gotcha.
Yeah, John has spoken here, and also Caruana spoke early on in our first season, I think, first year.
Gotcha. Yeah. Well, the three of us, we do a lot of we run around together doing stuff and sort of bringing each other into things. So it's fun. So yeah, that's cool. Denise has a question. Hey, Denise. Yay.
Thank you so much, Heather, for a great presentation. I really loved it, and I appreciated it. It was great to see you say you were standing when you were giving your presentation. I'm actually walking on a treadmill right now while I'm working. I usually don't walk while I'm presenting. I really also appreciated the poetry. I think that too helps with storytelling and trying to bring humanity as part of our virtual meetings. So my question is, what was kind of like your best reading or poetry you've read over the pandemic that you could share as for us, or something if we wanted to read something further?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, I got it for you. It's a YouTube video, and I think it's called, what is it called? I'll put it in the chat. It's tomfoolery, tomfoolery, and I think it's called The Great Realization, I think. If I'm on point, I think I am. But it's great. It's a little YouTube video that you should totally watch.
Great. Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. You bet. Great question. Awesome. I love you're on a treadmill. That's so cool.
Yeah, my goal is 20,000 steps a day during the work week. So
great. Yeah. I'm at a 10 right now, and sometimes I get to it, sometimes I don't, but I'm working on it, for sure.
Same here.
Awesome. Right on. Anyone else?
Thank you.
You bet.
Other questions? We got a couple minutes here. Or other comments, things that resonated with you.
Yeah. Or kind of like Denise, is there a XYZ that you know of that I can, off the top of my head, put in chat for you as well? I'm happy to.
Heather, I just wanted to say I really liked what you were talking about with progress versus perfection. And I think working in tech, we don't want to release things until they're perfect, or even internally, that's such an issue that I come across too. And so really just as long as we're making progress, that really I think will help me moving forward, because I think we're all a little bit perfectionists as well. So we don't want to release things out into the wild, or again, even within our small teams that we wouldn't be proud of. But again, just reminding ourselves that it's really key to focus on that progress, where you came from, and then where you are now.
Yeah, for sure. I find also that, I don't know, being an event producer for such a long time, the way I was able to literally do about 20 shows a year for Microsoft with a gaggle of people that were on my team was that we had to be super organized, right? And we did a lot of, I tell everybody, I'm like, I love writing down the recipe, and then we run the recipe, and then we figure out what we're going to add to it, right? But you run the recipe. And I think that, people are like, you're so process oriented. And I'm like, I've got an artist heart with like a technology, something else. I don't know. You know what I mean? Like, and I have a project manager in me as well. And so, but I want to jump off that cliff, but I want to know that there's an awesome mattress and maybe like a glass of champagne at the bottom. You know what I mean? Like, you know what I mean? So I feel that's something in tech that is so rampant of like, you're always on the reactive. You're always on the like on the brink of like, oh, we're going to get this done. And so working on sort of that progress over perfection thing, if you can at all get to a place where you're a little bit more proactive and planning and starting things earlier, if possible, that helps with that too. And people don't always equate those things together, so food for thought on that. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. And just the last thing, one of the things that I've been meaning to do, and I want to be brave enough to do it, the progress over perfection. So I was chatting with Kathy. I don't know if you're on Clubhouse, but I've kind of like been digging into Clubhouse a little bit. And so one of the things I want to do is like host a room and maybe have all of you folks that are part of this meeting, or if you're not on Clubhouse, I have like a handful of invites. Reach out to me on LinkedIn and stuff, and we could connect there. So that's like one of my goals. My progress over perfection is like starting a room or something like that.
That's awesome. You should totally do it. Yeah, I've been on Clubhouse a bit. I literally haven't been able to dip into it, but I think it's super cool. And it's when I do dip into it, it's more usually at night, kind of after work and all of that kind of stuff. But I do like it. I haven't been able to do one because officially, just because of some of the limitations it has. It's because it's not on Android, it's like it's still kind of a closed circuit, so officially can't do that. But but for everything else, I'm like, I love it. So it's great. Yeah, you should totally do it. I can't wait. I'm on there. I think I'm on there as Heather Newman. So invite me.
Okay, totally.
Yeah, absolutely. If you need help.
Heather, one of the things I really enjoyed is the beginning of your presentation where you stated, can you do that? You're like, yes, I can. Can you do this? Yes, I can. Even though you don't know how. And I think you build that self-confidence in yourself. And then you also force yourself, oh dear, I got to go learn this new thing now that I said I knew how to do, right?
Yeah.
So
absolutely.
That was really awesome when you said that.
Thanks. It's a muscle memory kind of thing too,
Yeah.
right? I think that's one of those where, and there's a lot of times when I've also learned how to say, heck no, right? Because that you can tip it to the other side where you say yes to everything and then you're burning yourself out. So it's a bit of a, it's a depending on where you are in your career and all of that stuff and what you're doing. But
Right.
yeah, but I do. I think a lot of times I like yes and. I think we've heard that instead of but. And when you're trying to go after things, sometimes no means a maybe, because next time you ask, like if you continue asking the good
Right.
questions about can I be involved in that, somebody will
Because I
eventually.
also find that we often tend to undervalue ourselves
Oh
in
yeah.
our capabilities and all that stuff. So
Yep.
yeah, that's a nice thing to.
Yeah, I think there's that sort of quote about how it's a gender comparison, but it's like that in a job interview, that if there's like 10 things that are part of the job interview, men typically will be like, oh yeah, I got that, even though like
Right.
there's 3 of them that they're like not so much, and women will be like, well, these 3 not so much. And so it's something I think everybody can learn to do a little bit better, but I definitely think that saying yes, yeah, thanks, is important. I was talking about you the other day. I was pointing out how you rock it out on Twitter all the time. Yeah, we were
Thank
talking.
you.
Yeah, well, I was showing the Tygraph stuff from those guys, and showing their technology and how they track all that. And I was like, he's always on the top. He's always up there, just rocking it out. So, hopefully your ears are ringing in a good
So
way.
we are at time.
Oh,
So
yeah.
I
Gotcha.
be mindful of that. So just really quickly about the alt space question, there is a Mac client, but not a mobile client yet. They did talk at Ignite about how that's something that they're thinking about. So if you have a Mac, or if you can get on Steam, there's also a Steam client. So yeah, come join us on April 23rd at our next Women IT Pros meetup for the US. We'll be in alt space.
Awesome.
And I will post the rest of the events on the YouTube page. I still can't get my slide going here.
Oh my goodness.
That's
But
great.
Heather,
You have a Mac.
what was that?
I'm glad to hear you have a Mac program now.
Yes, yes. They added it for Burning Man because all the creative Burning Man people are on Mac. So
Yeah, that's totally true. I'm a burner.
Yeah.
I don't have a Mac, but I did know that from that too. Yeah, and Kathy, I totally want to talk to you more about some alt space stuff, because I think I want to dip in there. I have an Oculus too. I'm so excited. Awesome. So fun. All right, cool. So nice to meet all of you, and hopefully we connect on LinkedIn and all of that stuff. And if you ever have any question, anything, please feel free. We're connected. We're in the same space. I'm happy to always answer questions and give time for folks and all of that stuff. So please know that we're now. Got it? Yeah. All right. Cool.
Well, and I know Heather's going to be busy, running the Biz App Summit, but this is one that I will actually be able to just go and hang out and attend.
Yeah,
So if anybody wants to kind of go with me virtually, I'd love to set up some kind of a back channel on something so that we can be hanging out and talking to each other and go into sessions together.
I highly suggest a watch party.
Yes.
Yeah. So awesome.
Yeah, let's do a watch party, because I think there's a lot of goodness there and really strong community.
Yeah. Awesome. All right, y'all. Take care and have a great weekend and happy Friday. And thank you so much. So it's great seeing you. All right.
We'll see you next month.
Okay. Thanks, Kathy. All right. Bye.